My mom has 3 kids from her first marriage: Ava, 28, Ben, 27, and Mia, 25. Their dad died 20 years ago, and my mom met my dad 17 years ago and had me, a teen male, pretty soon after. My parents got married a few months after I was born. I've always known my half-siblings tolerate my existence and don't outright show any hate, but they don't like me either. I also don't feel they love me or see me as their brother. But I'll get to the point. They're civil with me, but I always feel very left out around them. Christmas, when everyone gets together, sucks because it becomes so clear how much they resent, dislike, are indifferent to me. They'll talk with cousins about everything and they laugh and joke and bring them gifts. And not just cousins their age, but cousins my age and younger than me too, but they never talk to me like that. If I try, it's strained and they look to change the subject. Mom had to ask a few years if they brought anything for me because they handed out gifts to everyone except for me, and then they'd be like, "Oh yeah," and there was no interest in watching me open a gift, but the interest was there for others. One time I remember we were asked to all pose for a grandkid photo, and Ava, Ben and Mia had their arms around each other and they were leaning close to the cousins, and I was sort of on my own until some of my cousins told me to step closer to them. It was allowed, but I know afterward my grandmother told my half-siblings they should have been warmer to me. I was 7 or 8 at the time. I know Ava and Mia say they only have one brother. I think Ben says he has none, but I never heard him say it either, but I have heard the girls say it. When Mia got engaged, it was really awkward with some of her fiancé's family not knowing who the heck I was at the engagement party. The 3 of them have always been so close. Even in the photos taken, I felt like I was added for some unknown reason and wasn't a sibling. The wedding is coming up soon and my parents were talking about it. They said we'd be staying for the weekend because the venue was a little too far to go for just the day. At that point, I decided that I wouldn't go, so I told my parents to leave me at home when they went to the wedding. It became a big thing, and they said I had to attend my sister's wedding. I told them how I felt, and Mom said we're still a family, and she'd talk to them all but Mia especially. But I'm not going to the wedding. I refused to go. They were like, "You'd be grounded for a long time if you refused to come." I told them to ground me for a year because I'm not going. I heard Mom talk to her kids on the phone and she was saying how they should make an effort to let me know I'm wanted there. My parents asked if I stood by what I said and I said yes. I'm not grounded yet, but my parents are angry. Am I the idiot? Your older siblings have treated you poorly for years and your mom and dad have allowed this to happen. This is their mess and their failure. Not the idiot to not go. Mia won't miss you anyway. She barely even acknowledges you. I don't understand why they're angry. It's not like this came as a surprise for them. They witnessed for years how you were treated, but did they expect you to be your sibling's doormat forever? Your parents are trying to force a relationship, and the argument, "we are family," is not good enough. You don't need to put up with their behavior anymore. You're old enough to start choosing the people you want in your life, and you should choose those who really love you, value your presence, and support you. I don't understand why they're angry. Mom is angry because as long as everyone toes the line, she gets to maintain the appearance. Dad is probably angry because he can't get away with what OP's doing. LOL. There's absolutely no reason for you to attend a wedding where you'll be made to feel unwanted and rejected. Your mom is being really unfair to you because she wants to preserve her ideal of one big happy family in spite of all evidence to the contrary. OP, I'm sorry you lived through all that. No one should have to grow up dealing with that. I admire the advocating you're now doing for your own peace of mind and prerogatives. My sister is a flaming hot mess. She made my life miserable growing up. She got in with the wrong crowd and ran away multiple times. The house was never peaceful. We're close in age. I was a pretty good kid. When I was allowed to hang out at the mall in 8th grade, my sister couldn't since my parents didn't trust her. When she was 17, they gave up on her and I don't blame them. She ruined my mom's wedding dress. At 18, she was gone. They didn't kick her out, she just disappeared. She's back and is now 26. She got her life together and my parents set strict boundaries with her. I've been meeting up with her more often, and she went on a huge rant about not being invited to Thanksgiving since my parents said they weren't at the point of letting her back in their home. After at least 10 minutes, she went on about how I'm the golden child, and at this point I had enough. I told her I was the golden child since she couldn't do anything right, and she was lucky we even talked to her. She's never apologized and she left in tears. Her boyfriend called me angry and thought I was an unfair idiot. Edit, parents tried everything. We moved once to a new school to help her. I'm still bitter that I had to move and lost all my friends for her. She was in detention the first week of the new school. She was awful. Therapy happened with her. Group therapy was a nightmare. Now they don't trust her not to ruin their house. They don't trust her not to steal anything or destroy anything important if she gets mad. They don't trust her not to start an argument. They don't trust her not to ruin a nice family event. They just don't trust her anymore. Not the idiot. In general, I recommend focusing on people's actions rather than their nature. People aren't necessarily in control of their nature, but they are in control of their actions. It sounds like she's not inclined to really self-reflect or consider how her actions affect other people, and setting a harsh boundary might just, at the very least, help her to see that you and your folks won't be available for her to grift and abuse. I hope she gets her stuff together. Your sister must realize that she broke your parents' trust, and it will take time to get that back. It's great that she's trying to do better, but part of really changing and maturing is taking accountability for prior mistakes. She has to earn back the trust she lost. That doesn't happen overnight. Heck, she was gone for 10 years. If she doesn't stop acting like that, it might never happen. Your past is never an excuse for what you do, but if what you do is directed at the people who defined your past, then you don't have to make excuses. I refuse to believe your sister turning out like this is her fault, and you can't tell her whole story in a few paragraphs. You don't have the responsibility for your sister, but maybe you should provide a version of her story before you ask anyone to judge her for what she's done. This can't be just her character. It's way too bad. I think the parents really neglected her and that you're looking at things from their point of view. I'm trying to type this up in a way that's neutral and I don't sound like the meanest younger sister ever. I do think it's more nuanced than that. We were on the beach this morning and my cousin and his wife brought his jet skis. My sister, 24, rode one for a few minutes and then declared herself an expert. My cousin said that we could have fun, but his cardinal rule was we don't go past about 200 yards from the beach unless you are with a person on the other jet ski. On my sister's next turn, she set a path perpendicular to the beach and went straight out into the ocean as fast as she could. My cousin had the other one on the beach, filling it with gas. He screamed after my sister, but she kept racing into the ocean. When my cousin got in the water, he had trouble starting the second jet ski and my sister was a tiny speck way out on the water. He never did get the second jet ski started. We could still see her, but it looked like she was stranded. My mom freaked out and called 911, and after an hour or so we saw a Coast Guard boat heading toward her. Maybe 20 minutes they pulled up to the beach with my sister in a blanket, sobbing that she was the most afraid she's ever been because she was lost at sea. My mom took her into our VRBO and I guess made her soup and tea and listened to her blubber all afternoon. When she finally came out of her room, she wanted to hold court about her traumatic experience, and when she said the words, "A navigation error caused me to lose sight of land," I laughed as hard as I ever have in my life. It wasn't a navigation error, it was her being a dumb idiot. She basically screamed, "Screw you, Lindsay, I almost died," and I laughed even harder. She slammed her PSL on the table and slammed the door to her room. My mom says I owe her an apology, and I wasn't taking her trauma seriously. Am I the idiot? Edit, she claimed she couldn't see the land and was lost. We saw her the whole time. ROFL, not the idiot. That crap is funny, and now that she's safe, we can say it's funny how dumb she was. She dodged a Darwin Award. She was truly lucky. She's lacking sense and safety awareness. I hope she's thankful for the Coast Guard. I'd honestly have a lot more sympathy if she was just like, "I messed up. I thought I could go further than I was supposed to, and it wouldn't be a big deal, but then I got turned around and didn't know which way was back." But she didn't want to take responsibility. A navigational error is her way of completely ignoring that she caused that situation. Honestly, it's crazy to me that she ignored her instructions immediately, and I'm glad she's crying. I hope she remembers this. She wasn't operating the jet ski responsibly. That jet ski probably weighed between £500 and £1,000, and she was likely travelling at 50 mph or more. She could have killed someone or herself. I've noticed that arrogant people with zero skills or common sense are always the ones that get the most upset after getting themselves into trouble because they refuse to listen to people who know what they're talking about. Zero sympathy. Hope your sister quits the victim act soon and realises she should just be embarrassed about being such a fool. I, a teen male, have to write a paper for English class about an inspiring romantic relationship in my life. I'm not sure what the point of it is, but our teacher said it will become relevant in a few weeks. My stepmom and stepsister both assumed I would write about my dad and stepmom's relationship. It was brought up when my stepmom asked why I hadn't asked her and dad any questions about their relationship yet. I was confused as to why she was asking that and wasn't putting two and two together right then, and she said I should at least ask some questions before doing my paper. This was when it clicked with me, and I told her my paper wasn't on them. My stepsister was in the room at the time and asked me why. I asked why I'd write an essay about their marriage instead of my parents' marriage. My stepmom said because she and my dad's marriage was a forever one, and seeing as my mom is dead and my dad isn't good at talking about stuff, it makes more sense to write about them. She said she and my dad would be more inspiring for me anyway. I asked her if she ever thought I tried not to think about their relationship too hard, since she and my dad had a very long history and that as soon as my mom died, he ran back to her and married her. Did she ever think that wasn't something I loved but something I struggled with as the son he had with his first wife? They were all about, we're a family, it's okay to admit this is better, and that kind of thing. I told them I was writing about my grandparents and to leave it alone. They pushed the issue and said it made more sense to write about your parents, and I said it has already been pointed out that I can't since my mom is dead and dad is useless at that stuff. Stepmom said that she was my parent. I ignored that and went on about my day. But they brought it up again a couple of days after that and said that I should want to write about my dad and stepmom, and I was weird about it because they would be the primary relationship to model myself after. I snapped. I told them they were idiots if they thought my most inspiring relationship was one that showed how little my dad cared about my mom, something he said mom would have felt if she knew he went back to the ex he never got over. I told them they were full of themselves to think they meant so much to me that I would crap on my mom. I also told them they were deluded. They are delusional to think the woman who showed up at my mom's funeral to get my dad back would be the person I would find inspiring. They're angry that I'd said what I did to them, and I might be a jerk for it. Am I the idiot? Also, my stepsister is like 19 or 20. My dad and stepmom married when I was 9, 8-ish months after my mom died. Not the idiot. Personally, it feels incredibly idiotic for your stepmom to assume that she can replace your mom in your heart just because she isn't around anymore. I'm a mom and a stepmom, and I've always felt like there is a very fine boundary line I know shouldn't be crossed. She's crossing it, unfortunately. Anyone trying to force you to feel a certain way is an idiot. You should write about whoever you want. Stepmother is a one-note singer. Me, 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 me. Dad knows who keeps his bed warm and acts accordingly. OP did nothing wrong. They kept picking at the scab until it hurt, and only then did he retaliate. Stepmom has a literal case of main character syndrome. Technically, OP can write about dad and stepmom. Inspiring doesn't have to mean the subjects themselves were great. It can be inspiring, as in they inspire you to be better people because they suck and they've shown you how not to act. LOL. I'd totally be petty and write about them, but that would probably get OP grounded. My husband and I have 3 kids: Leah, tween female, Mary, younger tween female, and Mark, pre-tween male. I don't want to sound like I'm favouring my middle daughter, but that kid is damn smart. She taught herself to read at 3.5 years old, she has an insane memory, and her critical thinking skills are crazy. I have a friend who bought a lot and built 2 houses on it. She was going to live in one and sell the other. My kid told my friend she would make more money renting it because she would get money from it forever, and this was 2 years ago. I'm not too fond of grocery shopping, and my middle daughter loves Lush bath bombs, so I've been writing up a list and sending her to the store with the list and my card. She always gets exactly what's on the list and even stuff that I forgot to put on. One time she showed up with a bag of avocados, saying she used the last one that morning. Another time there were 4 boxes of pastoroni. It was on sale and we ran out at home. Whenever she goes shopping for me, I take her to Lush and let her pick out 1 bath bomb or bubble bar for up to $10. My older and younger kids want me to do this with them too, but they're both a bit lazy and don't pay attention. I can't count the number of times I've called home and asked if we have a certain ingredient for dinner, and they say we don't have it, so I stop at the store and buy it, then I see it sitting where I said it would be at home. They say that's different, but I honestly can't see anything good coming from sending those 2 into the store unsupervised with my credit card. My husband says it's unfair to give Mary privileges that Leah doesn't get, but I think it's fair because Mary can do it correctly, but Leah can't even tell me if we have any peanut butter at home when it's sitting in the front of the pantry. Am I the idiot for letting my young tween do the shopping? You are the idiot, and you will cause problems between your kids by clearly favouring one. Instead of just rewarding one, You could have your other 2 kids do something that doesn't have anything to do with groceries. Ask or look to see what your other kids are good at. Disagree. Leah can't even get up to see if there's peanut butter when she calls home. If she could do that, OP would let her. Why should Mary be punished for being more responsible? If they can't do something as simple as check the cabinet when Mom calls, they sure won't be able to shop. Mary deserves her tip. This is baffling. The whole point of being a parent is to teach your children. The problem is that OPs are not trying to play to their strengths. So her eldest and youngest aren't the most observant. For most children, that's a learned skill, one that parents have to teach. Maybe the eldest is a natural at mowing the lawn and watering the garden. Maybe the youngest has 0 issues scrubbing down bathrooms until they shine. OP should be working with them and building life skills like these anyway. OP, you're damaging your middle child with this attitude too, believe it or not. Being known as the smart one in the family can be a nightmare for a child growing up and entering the real world. And by creating unnecessary resentment in your other kids, you're driving a wedge between the siblings that doesn't need to be there. Give it a few years. This will be just as sad for your middle child as for the other 2.